Last week we seen a thrilling end to the British Grand Prix. The final 2 laps were absolutely incredible. On the edge of your seat, was Lewis Hamilton going to be winning his home Grand Prix for the 7th time? Spoiler alert, he did. In very unusual circumstances, finished the race on 3 wheels. Not too bad. Very, very well done from Lewis Hamilton. Of course, claiming, like I said, his 7th win at Silverstone. So round 5, we travel long and wide to get to the next Grand Prix. We go from Silverstone to Silverstone. We're staying at Silverstone for another week, which is pretty impressive because I do like this track because I'm British, of course. And not only that, it's actually a brilliant circuit. Are we going to be seeing some punctures like we seen last time in Silverstone? Hopefully, and hopefully not, I would say, which I thought, it did add a little bit of spice to the race because, let's face it, it wasn't the most entertaining of races. But like I said, I'm not going to complain because we've had no Formula 1 for 7 months. I'm pretty happy with a couple of boring races. So, short preview today because it's at the same circuit. You know where it is right now. You know Silverstone, the home of Formula 1, for the 70th anniversary Grand Prix at the very place where Formula 1 was born. On the 30th of May 1950, F1 had its very first official Grand Prix, won by Giuseppe Farina in the Alfa Romeo. Ever since then, Formula 1, it's went high and wide all over the world and it's loved by many fans. Loads of content creators out there, especially bringing Formula 1 into the modern age. Where are we going to be in another 70 years in Formula 1? Well, let's find out and see. So before we jump into things, let's jump on board with a lap of Silverstone. Once again, driven by Lewis Hamilton around the brilliant, iconic Silverstone Grand Prix on the F1 2020 game. Again, thank you very much for Dan for providing this. This was on last week's preview, but if this is the first time you are watching our preview, then please take it all in, jump on board with it, and have a look at this brilliant track on the game. Then once that's finished, Lyle is going to jump into the news, heading into the F1 weekend, and then he'll be giving his predictions, his top 3, and his fastest lap for this week. Let's ride on board with a lap of Silverstone with Lewis Hamilton, the current record holder here at Silverstone. So here we are then starting the lap, heading towards turn 1, which is I'll be up to 8th gear, taking the corner flat out, followed by this next corner at Farm, then heavy braking, down to 3rd gear into Village, then getting ready for the loop, then it's getting ready to maximise the car, getting out as wide as you possibly can, using as much of the track as possible, hitting the apex, then heading towards the Wellington Straight, which is the second DRS zone of the track. Speeds hitting over 325 km per hour, heading into Brooklyn, starting to 5th gear, then hitting the apex, getting a nice tight corner on the go there, and of course trying to get as much speed as you can exiting the corner. Make sure you don't go too wide into the gravel trap because that will definitely catch you out. Going down the old start finish straight, heading towards turn 9, which is Cop, 7th gear. Cars will try and take it flat, getting a nice apex there, and of course maximising, getting ready the car for the brilliant section, which is Maggots and Beckett's, an absolutely brilliant part of the circuit. Getting left, right, almost instantly. Heading in towards Chapel then, and down the Hangar Straight, the 3rd DRS zone of the circuit, and of course the final one of the lap. Speeds again hitting over 325 km per hour. Heading in towards Stowe, which is turn 15, down to 6th gear, 255 km will meet the cars at this corner. Then towards the end of the lap, turn 16, which is Vale, down to 3rd gear, getting a nice apex once again, and trying not to lose the rear too much towards the end of the lap at Club, and that is across the line, and that is a lap of Silverstone.
The British Grand Prix was definitely thrilling towards the end. 48, 49 and even 50 laps is a bit boring. And then of course the last 2 laps really entertaining. And the first thing that you have to mention when you talk about the British Grand Prix is Silverstone 2020. No, it was Silverstone 2013. The tyres, the Pirelli tyres, again causing problems. Was it the tyres? Was it the track? Was it the curbs? What was the problem? Well, Pirelli have launched an investigation towards that to look at their tyres. Now, if you remember all the way back in 2013, it was the Kevlar belts. They weren't as strong. And again, with the high curves, they were catching at the British Grand Prix track. Also, the drainage around the Silverstone circuit basically were just creating debris and things that could have created punches, either slow punches or instant bangs, of course, as we saw in that race. Lewis, Felipe, people like that, of course, the tyres delaminating really fast. It wasn't like that, it was slow punches, but nevertheless a big problem for the Silverstone officials and of course Pirelli. Now again, we had a question, and agree or disagree about should we look at other tyre options other than Pirelli. I think Pirelli definitely need to up their game and not so much adapt as in we've had a problem with them, but again, if the tracks are being like that, especially Silverstone, of course we've seen problems like that in the past, then Pirelli should definitely try to address that problem. There has been high curbs at Silverstone, normally higher than normal, but there was someone on Twitter that posted a photo in Marshall that was around the track that posted a photo of finding little chunks of debris, especially coming out of Brooklands corner, just going on to obviously where Lewis Hamilton got his puncture. Little foreign debris objects that could have caused the puncture. And again, of course, if that is the problem, then the Silverstone officials will have to try and get onto that. Things that will be rectified in this race, heading into, of course, making it a good and a safe race ahead of the 70th anniversary Grand Prix. Of course, there was speculation after the race whether Lewis Hamilton should have possibly pulled the car over. Was it dangerous for him to keep going on? But of course, people like Martin Brundle said, as ex-drivers said, no way a driver will, basically put his foot down and almost push the car over. Now, we can't do any Nigel Mansell style pushes until he faints, but a driver will yark that car all the way around. Of course, if the carcass did come off or it was delaminating and throwing things back onto the track, then yes, Lewis Hamilton would have been told to pull over, but it was pretty much safe for him to finish, as was the other incidents that happened in the race. And of course, Carlos Sainz avoiding the Magnussen and Beckett's curb to avoid not having a problem like Danny Kvyat was smart driving by the Spaniard. But it'll definitely be thought about for the drivers heading into this race, but it should also be good from Pirelli. Biggest story going into this race. And there was a few big stories for other drivers as well. Of course, Lewis Hamilton, 7 wins at Silverstone, the most successful driver at Silverstone, the most successful at a home Grand Prix as well. He is absolutely dominating at his track as well, and becomes one step closer than he did in Hungary. 87 wins heading into 91. It's getting itchingly close. It's absolutely incredible. Max Verstappen is now surpassed 1,000 Grand Prix points, and he is now heading into his 107th Grand Prix start. He becomes the most successful or the longest serving Dutchman in Formula 1, of course, taking over from his dad, Jos Verstappen, all the way back, Michael Schumacher's teammate, in the 90s, of course, taking over from a Verstappen, and obviously his dad Jos's long-standing record. Again, set to, of course, extend that this weekend in a good race from Max, promoted up to second place, as was Charles, from fourth to third. Of course, after what had happened to Valtteri Bottas. Mercedes are definitely looking into any problems that need to be addressed around their tyres and delamination, but it looks to be all sorted. And basically, it looks to be all rectified for heading into this round. It should be definitely a good one. So that's about the news heading into out of the British Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly, he is very happy. He said it was the best performance by him. And of course, he used to be a Red Bull driver, if you didn't realise that. His best performance in that AlphaTauri, beating out Alexander Albon, who, again, you wouldn't think they had a big rivalry. They were kind of making it sound a little bit bigger than it was on the TV. Of course, those two drivers were Toro Rosso, and Albon took Gasly's position at the Austrian team. But nevertheless, I don't think they're massive rivals, but of course Gasly beating Albon was still a big talking point. Great race from Albon, of course, as I've just said there. Great race from the two McLarens until Carlos had his problem. But a great win from Lewis Hamilton, unstoppable. So let's jump into my predictions. First off, I just want to mention, of course, as we always do in our preview shows, the Prediction League. It is a big favourite. Loving it. It's really juicy on Twitter. It's really juicy at the top. One guy, Jack Milton, is running away with it at the top. It's really spicy as well. I think me and Jordan are just hanging on to the top 10. Not great from us. It really throws up curveballs. When you think it's going to be a standard, Mercedes, maybe Max, it's not. And when you think it's going to be a, Nicholas Latifi, George Russell, Lando Norris, it becomes a boring. No offence to obviously people who support Hamilton, Bottas, and Max. But let's jump into my predictions. And of course, leave your predictions in the description for either this video and on Twitter. Also, under where we've posted the Prediction League, of course, it is now open. Your 1, 2, 3 in the order to, of course, get maximum points, and your fastest lap. Also, it is a juicy one. We really hope that you can play along, and of course, not just for this race, but the rest of the season. So, my predictions: in third place, I'm going to be going for the man who had a delamination and lost the podium, and that is Valtteri Bottas. Very strong around Silverstone. I remember his pole lap last year, he got it by 100,000 millions, billions of a second. It was insane. Definitely very strong. It was happening to be a good race, challenging Lewis Hamilton. The only time he saw Lewis Hamilton, which was obviously into the first corner into Abbey, until Lewis took you maintained the lead and then took off. That's all I can really say from that. Again, not too much. Valtteri looked like he had second place in the bag until, of course, that massive problem happened. But there's not much to say. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't really even the team's fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. It was just one of those things. Obviously, third place in this race, I think, should be a good one. In second place, I'm going to be going for a little bit of a strange one. And I'm going to say the man who's just won his home race, he's not going to get 8 this time around, or he's not going to win another race. It might not even be 8. Might not even be, because it's not classed as a British Grand Prix, but the man who's not going to win at his home track, and that is Lewis Hamilton in second place. A Mercedes 2-3, if they call it that, I don't know. Again, very strong from Lewis Hamilton, of course. He was getting caught by Max. He was kind of chipping away at that lead. Lewis did look like he had that race in the bag, but I think in this round he won't be as strong. Again, just maybe the fact of maybe Mercedes was so dominant last weekend. Not so much Mercedes will step off the gas, but you're going to be looking at teams like Red Bull who will definitely step up. It just showed at the end, Christian Horner was speaking to some of the Mercedes officials. He was having a big conflab with Toto Wolff, so maybe they were talking over the gains that Mercedes had made. Maybe Christian went back home to Milton Keynes, went back to the factory and really started digging in to put in some more effort to beat the Mercedes. And as I've said that, I've kind of given away my first place there with Max Verstappen. He got second place in a bit of a rush. He went on the radio, can I catch him, can I do this, can I win this race? And the answer was, go for it. I mean, 30 seconds is a big gap, of course. Maybe if he was chipping away, maybe if this problem happened earlier on, maybe so, yes. But 30 seconds was, of course, a big gap, and Lewis Hamilton was untouchable. But nevertheless, Max was definitely giving it 120% to try and catch Lewis Hamilton. And yes, I think that he's going to have a good race here. Very consistent, of course. Good qualifying from him. And again, I think the main thing from this is I think Red Bull are going to have the edge over Mercedes. So there we go. That is my top 3. Max Verstappen, of course, takes the victory. Again, just adding to the accolades I just said there, obviously surpassing 1,000. And obviously now the most successful Dutch driver in Formula 1. 107 starts. And then Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas making the podium. 2 podiums in a row at Silverstone for Lewis Hamilton. It won't be 88 wins, but he'll be getting again very, very close to that. And then, of course, this will be the first time a Mercedes driver hasn't won a race in 2020. They have whitewashed all the way up to this race, but I think it is now Max's time to win again. So there we go. That is my top 3. Fastest lap. I am going to throw out an incredibly insane curveball, and I'm going to say the man who everyone's going to be beating up about. If you went to the bookies and put a bet on him, he would be 1,000 to 1, and that is Sebastian Vettel. But firstly, he's got to get inside the top 10 to get the point. I think Alex Albon got the fastest lap about 3 times in that race, but he was outside the top 10. You thought he's not going, to get the point. So Sebastian, I'm going to say, if you can do a favour and if you can get in the top 10, I'll give you the fastest lap. So there we go, Sebastian Vettel, fastest lap. And as I say, Sebastian, like we said in F1 24/7 News, he has really, and the team has really got to give him the tools to do well. So there we go. That is my top 3 and fastest lap. Again, as I just said, they'll leave it in the comment section below on this, and of course, go and follow us and comment on Twitter over F1DS16 to enter into our prediction league. And of course, we will be posting the results after the race on Sunday to see how you've done. Maximum point, I think it is 9. So again, good luck to everyone who enters. So that was my predictions. Jordan, there we go. I've said Max Verstappen will take a victory for Red Bull and Lewis Hamilton will not be on top again. What is your predictions for the second round at Silverstone, the 70th anniversary Grand Prix?
Alright, so he's going for a different approach on predictions. Is he? A Verstappen win with Hamilton and Bottas? Oh, not too bad. I think a lot of people are going in that direction in terms of predictions. Like everyone's saying Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, or Verstappen, Bottas, Hamilton, or that's always the main 3 in the top 3 everyone is predicting. But hey, don't just assume that it's going to be the top 3, because like we're seeing at Silverstone last weekend, anything can happen, even at the final moments of the race. So, my top 3 for this weekend. Now, I was pretty confident last week that Racing Point were going to have a strong weekend, with their car, of course, being very similar to last year's Mercedes' W10. Almost identical in a way, we know about this now. And we were very surprised to see it wasn't on the pace. Now, of course, understandably, Hulkenberg, again, even though he didn't take part, his car was, of course, it wasn't really on the pace of a Racing Point, but with a bit of slack, of course, that was his first race weekend since December, well, the 1st of December, rather. And of course, standing in for Sergio Perez, which I think is having another race out just to recover from, of course, COVID-19. So get well soon, Perez. Hopefully you can be back on track very, very soon. So I can't say anything changing for Racing Points. So I'm going to say in third place, I'm going to go with Valtteri Bottas. Now, Bottas he had a comfortable second place. He really, really did. He had that puncture. Max Verstappen overtook him. He didn't score any points in the end. A big, big blow, quite literally, to his championship hopes. I think he's 30 points behind Lewis now. And I mean, once you're out of that one race win bracket in between your rival, especially Lewis Hamilton, it's going to be very, very difficult to claw that back. Because even if Lewis Hamilton retires and Bottas even wins, he's still got 5 points behind Lewis. And Lewis, after he has a bad weekend or a disappointing weekend, whether his car lets him down or himself, he always recovers and does very well the following race. And even beyond that, I mean, look at that, he's still dominating now after he lost the championship in 2016. It's like, okay, Lewis, we get it, you were angry. But never mind. Anyway, so, yeah, Bottas, I think he'll have a strong weekend. I've got a hunch he will get second place, but I don't want to be the whole boring type, and I'm trying to be a bit different for my predictions because everyone, like I said, is going for the same top three. But I'm kind of going in that similar direction anyway. I'm sorry, guys. So yeah, Valtteri Bottas P3. I think hopefully he'll have a solid job this weekend, getting on the podium again. I can't see him really beating Lewis Hamilton again, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Second place, I'm going to go with Max Verstappen. Once again, he had a very quiet race. He was in no man's land in P3 at one stage. Well, I would say majority of the race. We know that Red Bull car isn't what we expected and what Verstappen didn't expect. It's a bit twitchy. It's a bit undrivable at times. It's quick, but it's not Mercedes quick. Like, Mercedes have took a big, big step forward in development. And Red Bull, I would say they have took a step forward, but not as much as what they thought it was going to be. And, Max is a great driver, of course he is. And, I'm hoping, for sake of argument, that he can get a couple of race wins under his belt. If the same happens again, fingers crossed he can be in that same window. Because I know the whole, if he didn't pit, he could have won the race and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, I know, but, that was then, this is now. So, and, Verstappen has the capabilities of winning that Grand Prix. It's just, the only issue is, it's not Red Bull, it's not Max, it's the Mercedes cars, but nevertheless. And yeah, so I'm hoping Max can just finish ahead of Valtteri Bottas in P2 on pace alone, which will be difficult. But if for whatever reason the Mercedes cars are looking that strong, which again is very unlikely, but one can hope, can't there? Then maybe Max could finish ahead of Valtteri Bottas, at least one Mercedes, and that is a job well done for Red Bull. And they'll be walking away from Silverstone, going back to Milton Keynes with a big smile on their faces. But my race winner, no real shock, no real, Jordan, come on, mate, we seen this coming a mile off. Sebastian Vettel. Because, yeah, that Ferrari car is absolutely incredible. That Ferrari car is... Sorry? Oh, this is the 2020 season Oh, sorry. No, he hasn't got a hope in hell's chance, has he? No, he hasn't. Charles Leclerc? No, same Ferrari car. Right. It's got to be Lewis Hamilton, I'm afraid, guys. It's going to have to be Lewis Hamilton to win this race. I can't say anything more than what a lot of people are already saying. Hamilton is brilliant at this track. The car is fantastic. There is nothing more to say. Look how dominant he was last week at Silverstone. It's going to be the same this weekend. If punctures and everything keep away from that, I think teams have learned their lesson and understood okay, maybe these tyres. I think there was a rumour of debris on the track as well, like what Lyle mentioned before, but at the same time, I think maybe teams will go, okay, let's go for a 2-stop this weekend rather than the traditional 1-stop, which again could throw a big curveball into the strategy. So making this weekend very, very juicy indeed. Fastest lap. Ooh, again, this is an unpredictable one. I think Verstappen got fastest lap. So I'm going to say, I'm going to have a stab in the dark, and I'm going to go for, I don't really know. Lance Stroll. Let's go for Lance Stroll. Now, Lance Stroll, I don't know. Because I was going to say maybe they might go, again, they might be, they might have better pace and go for a pit stop and go for the fastest lap. But their car was, at Silverstone, was on par with the McLarens and even the Renaults at one stage. So if they were in a battle with them, they wouldn't want to be pitting and risking positions. I want to be different, but I'm going to say Bottas. I'm going to go with Valtteri Bottas. Maybe, going back on my predictions, maybe Bottas could be so far ahead of Verstappen, but maybe so far behind Lewis where they can go, right, okay, Bottas, pit this lap, we'll put you on a fresh set of softs, not easy to say, and get him the fastest lap and get Mercedes the extra point. Or maybe even do that to Lewis if he is so far ahead and go, right, let's go for the fastest lap. That could be any of those cars because we know how quick those cars are. But I'm going to say Valtteri Bottas and maybe just leave Lewis there to in his own world and just, let him cruise all the way to the finish, in my predictions anyway. So, that is my top 3 as well. And of course, Lyle leaving his top 3. And like Lyle mentioned earlier, the prediction league, comment below your top 3 for this weekend. So this is where we're going to wrap up the 70th anniversary Grand Prix race preview. That is a mouthful, by the way. Thank you so much for watching as always. Like I said, comment below about your predictions and your feelings towards this weekend. What are you feeling towards? Are you happy? Well, you should be happy that Formula 1 is back, but of course you got the Renault race point thing happening. I think that's going to be announced tomorrow as to what's going to be happening, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Robert Kubica as well, he's jumping in the car for FP1. Hulkenberg, I think, will be making his return to Formula 1 again. Can he get in the race? Let's hope he can. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you are new around here, then please drop us a like, hit that subscribe button as always, and turn on them notification bells so you know every single time that we have uploaded. Oh, and by the way, what do you think of the new thumbnail? Like the new design? Like the whole text thing and everything? All drivers in the sky and all that malarkey? Yeah, no, I think it's alright. I wasn't really a fan of the old thumbnails that, I kind of designed. I thought, they look good. And, I didn't like them anymore. So, Anyways, less rambling, more ending. So, guys, thank you so much for watching as always. Watch what you're doing. Stay safe as always. And until next time, we'll see you later.